Alright, I'm back with another Destiny video talking about Season of the Splicer. We just got the big info drop 2 days ago now. We are waiting for a TWAB that will be up later today, but before that I thought I would just do kind of a brief rundown through the season roadmap here, which was released kind of at the tail end of all the information, so I think some people missed it. I wrote an article about it, but I kind of wanted to just go through it a little bit week by week and see what is there and what is not there. We will start with the season launch on May 11th. There's an intro mission for armor synthesis. I don't know if that is related to Mithrax. Like, I can't tell if armor synthesis and Ada's return is somehow going to be related to Mithrax and the Splicers. That would be a little weird, but yeah, I'm not going to rule it out considering he's shown in the artwork here, and there's no real story mission listed here otherwise, other than the Override quest, which I guess could function as its own story mission. Override is the new 6-man activity that is the first one since Season of Dawn and the Sundial, which is pretty fantastic because we've all been kind of missing 6-man activities. Battlegrounds were good, but 3 people versus 6 people, you're always going to want to choose 6 people. So curious about the scale of those. Curious if they're going to do the same thing with enemy density that they did with the Battlegrounds, where they just put tons and tons of Cabal in. So are we going to see that with tons and tons of Vex too? I'm very curious to see that, so we'll see how that goes. And then the last thing that launches on May 11th itself is apparently new Stasis aspect quests, because we are still getting those. I don't know how I feel about Bungie continuing to give new aspect quests, like after all this time. Like, Stasis has so many problems at baseline to just keep adding new stuff to it. Like, I guess it's good for potential build diversity and stuff like that, but at this point, like, I would almost rather them be updating the light subclasses more, because like Stasis is so overused at this point anyway for the most part that like I would love, like, you know, a solar aspect or something, even though that does not seem in the cards because they do not apparently have plans kind of an entire revamp of the light subclasses, like with the Stasis fragments and aspects. So I think we saw in the trailer some sort of like ice spear. So I assume we're going to get one new aspect for each class, which is what happened previously. And then aspects are the main ones, and then fragments are the sub ones. Yeah, so we might get new fragments too. Building up quite an arsenal of fragments and all the different ways you can modify those, but you only have a pretty limited number of slots. So moving on, Trials of Osiris will begin immediately. We have not heard about any new Trials weapons. We know we're using the same armor set. There was talk about a new like kind of Trials rework in the future, but that is not starting this season. Something to do with the reward path and things like that, but it does not appear anything's changing this soon. And then a full week later, we will have Iron Banner come back, and at least we have 4 new Iron Banner weapons to chase. I assume some of those will be in kind of bounties, and then the rest will be random drops. I forget what they are, but there's 2 reprise ones and 2 brand new ones, and it's been a long time since we've gotten any new Iron Banner weapons at all, much less ones that can actually get like random rolls, because Point of the Stag couldn't because it was just a pinnacle weapon. And then we also have a new Override mission on the moon. Still wondering what those are going to look like in practice, but we'll see. And then, of course, we have Vault of Glass opening May 22nd. That is what? That's a Friday? No, it's a Saturday. Okay. So that is the big Quasi-Worlds first race. In that photo, if you zoom in really hard, I think you can see that they are in original Vault of Glass armor. And I think the Titan on the left there is definitely holding Mythic Glass. So if you obviously, I think that Mythic Glass was always going to return, but we don't know how you get it. We don't know if it'll be a quest or a random drop chance. As much as I kind of appreciate random drop chances at the end of raids, giving you a reason to run them. However, what's been going on with Eyes of Tomorrow has been such a disaster that I don't know if they have the systems in place to adequately do that. Like, I don't think they have figured out their bad luck protection thing. I know they were supposed to have patched that recently, but I keep hearing tons and tons of reports of people that are at like 70 clears and still have not gotten it when it should be pretty much a guarantee now. So I think something's broken with that. We have another weekly pinnacle a couple days later. Oh, wait, no, sorry. The weekly pinnacle mission, that's when it starts. So that's a separate thing than the override. That's the third and apparently final override mission in the Tank Shore. But the weekly pinnacle mission is something called Expunge. And I was comparing it to weekly pinnacle missions like Harbinger and Presage, but I don't think it'll be that. It probably sounds more like Interference, the one we had in Season of Arrivals, where we would run that every week, and there was like a couple variations of it, and then we just got a little bit of new story each week, because this is not apparently tied to a actual exotic, and I would be a little surprised if they had built out some new huge, expansive area like Presage just for this. I think this is going to be all these images here kind of show this like neutron aesthetic that is. I've heard actually that this is built kind of on the Infinite Forest framework, like how they made those areas appear and disappear and were kind of procedural. So this may have some sort of procedural aspect to it. And so we're going to be going through what is kind of a new zone, maybe not, but it does visually look very cool. So the weekly pinnacle, we'll just kind of skip ahead a little bit. It shows up for, I think, 6 weeks in a row. I don't know if it'll just stop being available after that. I doubt it. I bet you can just keep running it, but it does make me think that maybe kind of the story component of it ends after 6 weeks, which I believe would be shorter than Interference, shorter than Presage. Presage required like 12 runs to see all the story stuff and get all the lore, but this may be just kind of 6 in total, even if you can keep running it after. So there isn't really anything listed for a little while here. Like the whole month of June is essentially just weekly pinnacle mission, another Iron Banner, and then Vault of Glass raid challenges show up almost a month after launch there. On June 15th, another weekly pinnacle mission. People are saying that this calendar is a little light because so many of these squares are just the weekly pinnacle mission and or Iron Banner and not much else. I think we have to see what it looks like in practice, but like I can sort of see where people are coming from. I guess it just depends if there's anything not listed here, so we can talk about that too. Solstice of Heroes is it's not really the ending because it's showing up in like the middle of the season because we don't end the season until August 24th. We do not actually know how this is going to change. They are not showing the EAZ, so we don't know if we'll be going back there for the fourth time. I've lost track. We have seen a new Solstice of Heroes branded shotgun, so that might be a new, I'm assuming, a legendary weapon that we can get from the event. I don't think that has usually had weapons attached to it unless I'm forgetting something. It's usually been all about the armor. Maybe that means we're not getting armor. Instead we're going for a weapon, but given all the drama with Solstice armors and glows and stuff, like maybe it's time to not do those for a bit. Vault of Glass is getting raid difficulty options on July 6th. I thought that they said that this wasn't going to happen until a future season. I didn't think it was going to happen within this season, so that's interesting to see. I do wonder what the different prizes will be. There are already rumors starting that it'll be the Age of Triumph ornaments for the armor, which everybody loves, or like an Adept's Fatebringers or an Adept versions of the weapons in there. I could see that, especially the Adept stuff. I don't know about the ornamental armor that may be above and beyond, but I can definitely see there being Adept weapons, and that being like a future thing in raids where hard versions of raids or dungeons or whatever give Adept weapons, because I think we need more sources of those than just trials and grandmasters. And then finally we get to this thing called the Epilogue on August 10th. Don't know what that means, but you would kind of assume it's going to be a live event wrapping up this season's story. The whole point of the season is that the Vex have turned off the sun in the last city, so my guess is this is a live event where we turn the sun back on somehow. But it's curious because this is actually 2 weeks before the season ends, so there's a little bit of a gap there, so we don't know if like the world will transform in some way or something like that, but I don't know. Can't really read into that too much considering we haven't even started the season yet and we don't know what's going on. Not listed on here are things like, however, the new helm will help us craft new weapons from the splicers and things like that, but that's something that will be kind of ongoing throughout the course of the season. Not listed on here are anything that is a potential secret that Bungie's hiding. It could include a secret exotic quest. I would imagine not something on the scale of Presage or anything, but we know that only there are, it's Mythoclast, we assume, and then the Season Pass exotic. I still am not a huge fan of putting exotics in Season Passes, but here we are. And then we do have 3 new boots exotics that are coming as armor drops. Presumably you will farm those in Legendary Lost Sectors like usual. And maybe there's not more than 2 exotics. So far in the current season, Chosen, we only have 2 exotics this time, unless my grand theory comes true and we're about to be gifted an exotic hammer, but I'm not exactly banking on that. So that might just be kind of par for the course, 2 exotics. I think it used to usually be 3, but can't quite remember. There could be some sort of community puzzle here, either related to an exotic or not an exotic. I would be kind of surprised if we got through an entire kind of Vex hacking-based season without some sort of community puzzle. The last one we had was Vex-based, the Corridors of Time. Great puzzle, I loved it. The only problem was that it was debuting a weapon Bastion that was already on the roadmap, so it wasn't a surprise. So if there is a secret community puzzle, it could be debuting a secret exotic, because that was the only problem with the first one, in my opinion. So we'll see if that actually happens. And then finally, there is pretty much nothing about PvP on here anywhere. I know everyone is always hoping for new Crucible maps. No Crucible maps listed here. I do not think that is something they would keep a secret, and I just think it's not happening. No Crucible maps, no modes. The only thing we know about PvP for sure right now are the sandbox changes and then the 4 new Iron Banner weapons. It's like almost, it's not even like funny anymore. Like it's just kind of weird and like bizarre that like how little focus they've been putting on PvP and really talking about PvP. I remember when we were coming back from like winter break and everyone was like complaining about PvP and stasis to such a degree. It was like, okay, like Bungie has to chime in and say something now, but like nothing is really. The only thing that's happened is they have had continual kind of stasis nerfs in PvP, but like it is still going to be probably 2 years or so until since we last had a new Crucible map. Like we are rapidly approaching the 2-year mark of when we last got a map, and that's just kind of insane. And everyone believes that Bungie is working on their own PvP game kind of in-house separate from this, and that is where the PvP team is. That may be true, and yet, man, PvP does feel neglected. So, and roadmaps like this aren't really doing anything to not reinforce that. But anyways, that's kind of what we know from the roadmap so far. It is a little stretched out just because of this weekly Pinnacle mission thing being kind of everywhere, but I also think that there is a good amount kind of not being on here, and if the override missions are really fun and really worthwhile to grind, then having a good seasonal activity is like the bulk of what makes a good season good, along with like story components and things like that. So we'll see, but that's all I have for now. So thanks you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.